Firefighter, captain, please, bro, tell us a story. Like, how did you get started? Like, from growing up, you also became a firefighter very young.
Yeah.
So many people, I know that's a hard job to even get into. How'd you start there, bro? And why firefighting?
Yeah, so I actually started when I was working at LA Fitness, and I ended up stumbling across a friend who was a volunteer firefighter, and he ended up telling me, he's like, "Hey, I'm a volunteer firefighter." I ran into him after a long time of not seeing him.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh, that's cool." I thought nothing of it at the time, and then sure enough, fast forward a couple of days, I was like, "Man, it'd be kind of cool." Like I'm going to college, I'm flunking basically all my classes.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything here at LA Fitness. So
Right.
next time he came in, I was like, "Hey, how do you become a firefighter?"
Mm-hmm.
And the rest is history. He ended up kind of putting me on game in regards to what classes he took and how he got
Nice.
there. And then after a while, I ended up just going for it. I want to say it was like next week I went to my job. It was like, "Hey, I need to go to school
Yeah.
for these classes. I want to be a firefighter." They're like, "No, it's full time or nothing here." I was like, "All right, well then it's nothing." I put in my 2 weeks.
Boom.
Put in my
Right.
2 weeks and then just went for it.
Went all in.
But going back to the competitive thing it's extremely competitive.
Yeah.
And I think just like in business, not knowing how hard it was to get there is what helped me. And what I mean by that is, there's a lot of people that kind of dwell on the fact that things are hard. It's like, hey, it's hard to get hired
Yeah.
as a nurse. It's hard to go to nursing school. It's hard to go to the fire academy. It's hard to get hired as a firefighter. I didn't know any of that. So to me, I was like, hey, I'm just going to go to school and I'm going to get hired as a firefighter. And that's what it is. So that actually helped me. It wasn't until I got to the testing process where, I showed up for a job opening. It was actually for the city of Arcadia, where it was like 2-3 positions and there was like 2,000 people that showed up.
Wow.
And that's when it hit me. I was like, man, all right,
People
this is going to be a little
loved it.
bit more challenging than I thought.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, well then I just got to do more. So I ended up putting myself through medic school, through the fire academy, through extra classes, and then I got picked up.
Oh,
And
nice.
I think that's where being humble and knowing to put yourself in a position where, hey, I'm here to learn,
Yeah.
because I ended up getting hired actually with the first interview that I ever
I was
had
gonna
at
ask
a
you.
fire
So you ended up
department.
getting the Arcadia position?
I ended up applying for that one. I didn't go through as far as
Oh, because you're
interviews.
like, I need to do more.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, but then the first place that I interviewed for a firefighter position, I ended up getting hired. So it was my first ever interview, and it goes back to just putting in that work. And I over prepared, right? Just like a lot of it relates back to real estate now, and over prepare for a certain scenario, over prepare for a flip, for a buy and hold, multifamily, whatever it is.
Preparation.
Yeah, it is key. I ended up humbling myself and going and knocking at like 10 fire departments, 10 different stations, and just knocking and,
Right.
hey, I have an interview coming up. Some places would tell me to kick rocks. Other places are like, yeah, come back on this day.
Yeah.
Which now I look back at, it's like they were just having me come back on another shift.
Oh,
Other
you're
guys,
pushing on.
exactly. They just pushed me to someone
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
And then other guys were like, yeah, man, we'll help you out right now. But
Right.
all of that helped me. So yeah, I ended up going through the fire academy at 19. I ended up getting hired at 22.
Dang, dude, that's awesome. But what
Yeah.
I've seen is that you were super proactive. Like,
Yeah.
Like many people are just lackadaisical, right?
Yeah.
I just learned that way, right?
No, I'm picking up where you're laying down.
Yeah. Right, but they apply and they're like, oh, just see what happens, right?
Yeah.
But no, you're like, nah, let me know, knock on some doors. And yeah, even if it's like the annoying person gets a job.
Yeah.
Right? Who cares if you're annoying?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
And like you said, a lot of people just do the minimum. Now I'm fortunate enough to be able to help out with interviews
Yeah.
for firefighters. So now I sit on the other side.
Right.
And dude, if someone comes in with just the fire academy and just working for a care ambulance or an ambulance company, I write them off. You know
you're
what I
like,
mean? Yeah, I write it off because they've done nothing else to make themselves better.
Right.
So I could fast forward and I could tell you exactly what they're going to do is they're going to get hired, they're going to get comfortable, and they're not going to do anything to push themselves or the fire department forward.
To want to grow.
Exactly.
Right. 'Cause it shows from beforehand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to anyone out there that's looking to get hired with the fire department, stay proactive, stay trying, humble yourself, and seek that help.
Boom. All right, man. So you answered the first question, which was awesome, bro. So obviously, people looking, obviously, first responders, now that you know how to apply, which I think is super amazing that you were super proactive and really young.
Yeah.
I also, too, was young when I became a nurse as well.
Yeah. So tell me your story. How did you go about becoming a nurse?
Yeah, so I graduated. So I guess the first step to being a nurse is always like college for your degree, get your bachelor's, or you get your associates, you become a nurse, and then you start working right away.
Yeah.
So for me, I didn't know same thing. I was in high school. I was more like I've always was smart, but I never had a motive. Like if you don't know your why, it's very easy for you to like just
absolutely
to deter. So they say if you don't stand for nothing, you fall for everything.
Yeah.
So that was kind of me because I just didn't have that motive. But as soon as I knew exactly what I wanted to do, I was all in. Yeah. Same thing. So when I made the decision my senior year of high school, I was like, all right, I'm going to be a nurse. I want to be a nurse practitioner or anesthesia. But the steps was to be a nurse. I went to community college route. And going back to so earlier in the like a previous episode, we talked about the Instagram effect.
Yeah.
At least in high school, for people listening, everyone wants to go to that 4-year degree. Oh, where are you going to college? I was like, no, I'm going to community college because it was way cheaper. Yeah. And I know why put myself in debt for a crazy amount when it's the same type of education.
Absolutely.
So I went to community college, Chafee, for my first 2 years. Worked at In-N-Out, paid off my entire school, and then I transferred to Cal State San Bernardino, got my bachelor's, and I was working at the hospital, and I paid off my entire school, so never had to take out a loan.
Wow, that's huge.
Which was awesome because I was like always been working, so that working taught me how to manage my money at a very young age. So that actually applied to later in my life, like as in today. So I graduated at the age of 21, turning 22, and then I became a nurse at 22 years old and started working in the hospital in the ICU department in the neuro ICU at Arrowhead Regional, which is a county hospital, which taught me an incredible amount where I met a lot of my great friends now.
Yeah.
And at being 22 years old, I have all these goals and these dreams, but I knew that I wanted to do more. Like I knew instantly that I've always wanted to do more. And the reason I chose nursing as well, aside from my why, was because nurses work 3 days and you're full time.
Got it.
And there's 7 days of the week. So I was like, dude, what am I going to do my other 4 days?
Yeah.
Am I going to pick up another job? Or I don't have kids. I was like, no, you know what? I'm going to do real estate.
Yeah.
Because there's no one in my family that does real estate. No one's in the medical field. I want to be like that source of information.
Yeah.
And, obviously bridge the gap.
And then why real estate out of everything that there is? Why real estate?
You know what? Initially, man, it was because I was like, I want to buy my house. Yeah. And instead of depending on someone to kind of tell me the information, I was like, I'll just learn it myself, bro. Like,
I'll figure it out and I'll see what this is about.
So that was my whole goal getting my license, was just to help me buy a house.
Yeah.
And then I bought my house at 22 years old, like within 6 months of becoming a nurse.
Wow, that's huge.
So fun fact, if you go to school and you graduate and then you start working, that counts as work history because they saw that you went to school. So you automatically have the history right when you graduate.
Yeah, you know what's crazy is I didn't know that until like recently. I want to say within the last 6 months I saw that and I was like, dude, that's huge.
That's huge, bro.
You know, because a lot of these places, it's like, if you don't know that, you might just opt for going for a regular loan or whatever it is. And you don't actually have that history behind you, especially at that age. You don't have that credit history.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's tough. So that's actually really cool.
That is true. Yeah, the credit too. But that's how it happened. And then I still work in the ICU now. But I guess going back to becoming a nurse, I would say be super proactive as well. I remember applying to all the hospitals. I wanted to do ICU. And I would knock on the manager's door beforehand as well and introduce myself, shake their hand, be dressed nice, and say, hey, my name is Armando. I just want to let you know I applied to the position. I always ask for the unit manager and just kind of introduce yourself. And that goes a long way because nobody does that.
Yeah.
And they remember you. And then when the interview process comes, always just be ready. And then I always ask this common question in all. I got it from this book called Persuasion. It says, always ask them, when they interview, they always ask, do you have any questions for us? I always say yes, and then always be like, hey, when you read my application and you saw my name come up, what made you want to interview me? And they're gonna naturally highlight, oh, well, we like the fact that you have this work history. Yeah. And it just kind of brings forward the benefits of you, and then it kind of brings it forefront.
Yeah, and then it ends on a positive note.
It ends on a positive note.
That's awesome.
So I've always asked that every question, and every interview, thankfully, I've always gotten it.
Yeah, I've always gotten it. No, and that's huge, too. You know, I mean, even at the fire department, we talk about how to make yourself stand out. Yeah. You know, that's exactly what you talked about is, you know, you'd go over there, you'd introduce yourself, tell them who you are, what you applied for, and then ultimately it makes them remember you. Right. And then, dude, we know sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't in terms of, hey, that was kind of a shot in the dark, that didn't work, or hey, I have this position because of that. Yeah. And you figure the upside could be huge, right? Could be huge. And sometimes the downside is just getting a no. Right.
And you learn from that. So tell me. So starting off, as a nurse, it was it's definitely awesome. I'm still a nurse, and I love what I do. Yeah. I love it. I don't want to let it go. But the flexibility of having my other incomes have helped me a lot. Yeah. In terms of being able to manage and still love nursing. Where I don't hate it because I'm there all the time, but love it because I'm there 1-2 days a week. Yeah. And when I'm there, I'm like, it's pretty fun for me.
Yeah. Oh, and that's huge. You know, we talked about, you know, me working at the fire department and how to navigate that transition between, hey, work, you know, and doing real estate.
Yeah.
And you hit it right on the head there, because I'm the same way. When I'm at work, I have fun with it.
Yeah.
And my thing is like, dude, when I go to sleep at night, I want to go to sleep tired because I know I've given it my all.
Yeah.
You know, so if anything, it does make it more fun where you're like, okay, I'm here, I'm about it. Like,
Yeah,
let's work all day, you know,
right,
let's work all
right.
day and like, let's do it. Because
That's
that
so
time off almost makes it seem like it's been a long time since
Yeah,
you've been
yeah.
at work.
You go back, you're like,
You
dude,
know what I
man.
mean? Yeah, as opposed to like, you know, sometimes you have slower, you know, 4 days or 3 days, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You go back and you're like, man, I feel like I was just here, you
Yeah,
know? So
yeah.
it kind of starts to get redundant a little bit, as opposed to having something else going on where you're like, dude, it's only been for 4 days, but it feels like I've been gone from this place for like 2 weeks, you
And
know?
because you're so busy on your outside life, like
Exactly.
you're doing all this other stuff with, you know, real estate, and it's like you go back to work and it's like, dude, it's kind of like a break. So people ask me that too. They say, how do you do both, or how do you like manage both? I'm like, bro, like it's fun. It's fun for me because when I'm at the hospital, it's a break from my business. I don't got to think about like content, you know, administration stuff. Who do I got to follow up on? And then in reverse, when I'm at work, I'm not thinking about the hospital at all.
Yeah.
So it's like a break from both.
Yeah. And then would you say that there's any part of nursing that carries over to real estate for you or financial services? Do you think there's anything that carries over in terms of, you know, how you care for clients or any of that?
Oh, that's a really good question. I would say yes, because let's talk about patient care. Patient care is all about the patient.
Yeah.
Like patient safety is number one, and then on top of safety, it's just about the experience at the hospital. So obviously those are things that in the interview process, I always point those things out, and they'll love that. But those apply to us for nursing number one. So then in terms of business, it's all about the client's experience. And then I guess the plan, instead of safety, it'd be more like protection, right? You're protecting their deposit, their insurance, their finances, but their experience is everything. So the patient and the client are the center focus, and then those two align with nursing.
Yeah. That's huge.
What about for yourself, bro?
Yeah, no, I would say it's somewhere along the same lines where at the end of the day, you know, when we're on a fire engine, we respond to a call, you know, whether it's medical, whether it's fire, whatever it is. Like you said, the patient is the customer, you know, they're the priority. Is everything that we do is for them.
Right.
So on the real estate side, it's the same thing. Is whenever we have a client, everything that we do is for them. And I feel like that caring aspect, if you will, like caring, like genuinely caring for someone, carries over to our clients, you know. And at the end of the day, I feel like we're in a profession where you can't really fake, you know, caring for people. Yeah. Right? It's like, exactly, because you've gone through so much schooling, like it's who you are. It's like you're naturally, you know, that person that wants to care for other people, right? If we weren't, then we wouldn't be in this profession. Yeah. So you know, there's plenty of other things that we could be doing, you know, and then even looking at it from like a monetary standpoint, there's plenty of other things that pay more than, you know, being a nurse or being a firefighter. And we know that. Right. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, I genuinely like love helping people, whether, like I said, it's real estate or whether it's, you know, as a patient. Wow. You know, and I think for me, at least, that comes from, and I'd be interested to see where it comes from you. But for me, it comes from growing up in a Christian household, you know, with my mom, you know, helping out like Sunday school, you know, I was, you know, going to Sunday school, all that stuff. Yeah. So I feel like, you know, indirectly or directly, that's where my, you know, desire to help other people comes from, you know, and to be of servitude, if you will. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. 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 How about yourself? Where would you say it comes from? The service base, I would say the same as well. Growing up with my mom is like, has like the biggest heart. So like, I think I've always said that, I've always said that I'd be so like type A alpha, like just driven, but because I'm my mom's child, I have like such a soft and big heart. That's awesome. So it's like a balance of both. And then obviously just always giving back and always like helping the community has always been something that just fulfills you. Yeah. Right. I think Tony Robbins talks about this. He says actually the ultimate failure is having achievement without fulfillment. Yeah. And he's like, okay, you hear all these things of people achieving all these big things, but they feel so empty inside. Yeah. Well, how do you fill that void? It's by giving back. You gotta be a servant. And then us, obviously being a firefighter, being a nurse, you naturally, if you take into perspective, like you're naturally already doing that on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like some people have a hard time navigating that, where it's like, hey, You know, I work for a city or I work for a hospital or wherever I work, and my job, my duties are to give back to the community and be of service.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like people navigate or have a hard time navigating between that and, hey, I also want to do something that's going to set me up financially. You know what I mean? So and I do feel like some people are like, oh, you know, or maybe look at it as like, oh, you shouldn't want additional money or this.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I see it, you know, as like, hey, and it is true. The more you make, the more you're able to give.
Right.
And that for us is huge,
So
you know,
true.
especially at Home Dream, where a portion of all of our transactions go to charity of our client's choice.
Wow.
You know, and that's huge for us. You know, we'll go down to Mexico and do like Baja bound trips, you know, or we build houses for people that are less fortunate.
Yes.
So, you know, at the end of the day, like I said, having that money will allow you to give more. Not only that, but it allows you more time off, which then allows you to go help people.
Yeah.
Like I said, like Baja Bound. So
Wow.
to anyone out there that's a first responder, you know, who's a nurse or a firefighter and is kind of like, oh, I don't know, you know, at the end of the day, for most people, you know, including myself, like it doesn't come down to money in terms of like what makes me happy. It really doesn't.
Right.
I could care less. And anyone that knows me and like probably sees me dress on a day-to-day basis would be like, damn, that guy's not kidding. Look at what he's wearing. You know what I mean? Like,
but
it doesn't. Ultimately,
Yeah.
it's the flexibility that comes with the time. And now it's like, I say it all the time, right? I don't play for money. I play for time. You know what I mean? Like I could care less, right? You get to a certain point, you know, you're fortunate enough to be able to make a certain amount,
right?
And you're like, dude, I'm good, right? And they even have studies on it, like, you know, when you make, I think it's like 110 or 120 and over, or something like that. They have a number. It's like your quality of life in regards to how happy you are doesn't change. So I wish people knew
it's
that,
all the same,
right?
Basically.
It's what you make of it, dude.
Right.
I know them, you know them. Like I know some of the people and grew up with some of the people that did not have a lot, you know, growing up as well. And dude, they're some of the happiest people you will ever see. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, happiness does not correlate to money. It really does not, you know? And I feel like a lot of this, you know, especially for yourself or for myself, most people that do real estate and real estate investing, it's because they want to challenge themselves. They want to be able to provide a better life for their family, you know, so on and so forth. Like I said, it's not for the money. And I wish people knew that, you know, and I wish people knew that if they have a roof over their head, if they have family that loves them, if they have kids, if they have, you know, just an overall sense of security where they're at, you've made it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I cannot stress that out. You have made it. Everything else is a cherry on top. Right. You know what I mean? Even for ourselves, and like the investing thing is like, you know, obviously we invest, all that stuff. Helping people out doing real estate and, you know, real estate transactions is the cherry on top. It's because we like helping people. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, you know, the majority of our money comes from investments, you know, and that's money that's going to be, amazing. You know, there, whether we're helping someone out or not, you know, that's just money that's coming in, right? You know what I mean? From the buy and hold investments. Like I said, everything else is a cherry on top, and we love to do it. You know, it's because we're service based.
I was about to say that, bro. The servant. I think you could tell that, you know, from this conversation alone, like it's a servant. I think we're servants. We're natural servants, and I guess that really shows. And it's awesome that we've connected. In this space, because I was seeing your guys' social media, and I was like, man, this is not only was it like so cool to see, and then you told me you're a firefighter. I was like, dude, that's freaking awesome. Like, the fact that you were doing that, like. So that's I really admire and look up to you, because me being younger than you, and I could see now, I'm like, wow, like that's what the goal is, like just to keep building, right? And I feel like that's what we're doing right now. And I wanted to ask you, like, let's dive into the fire department in itself. What are some of the pain and struggles that firefighters have in terms of finances and their goals that you see that could probably be like maybe alleviated?
Yeah, so I would say one of the biggest things, and this is not necessarily just with the fire department, but I want to say it's across the workforce, and you know, just for most people, it's keeping up with the Joneses. Okay. You know what I mean? It's keeping up with the Joneses, and it's, you know, hey, that person has this, so I want that, you know. Got it. And I would say, you know, to anyone that, you know, has talked to me, I think that's one of the things that I bring up the most is it shouldn't matter what someone else is doing. You know, their definition of happiness is different than your definition of happiness, you know? Right. So at the end of the day, it's don't try to keep up with someone else, whether it's monetary, whether it's material, whatever it is. Yeah. You know, stay in your own lane and see what's going to work for yourself and your family. Wow. You know, because a lot of people, you know, they'll get hired, and back in the days, you know, what you used to make in the fire department was a lot more relative to, you know, inflation or however how much things cost now.
Right.
So back in the days, it's yeah, you get hired at the fire department, you could buy a house, you could buy a boat, you know, you could buy a nice lifted truck, all that stuff. That's just not the case anymore.
Right.
You know, inflation has gotten to a point where things cost a lot more.
For sure.
You know, and working at the fire department and, you know, being a nurse is not, it's not as lucrative monetary wise as it once was. You know, the people that do it is because they genuinely love helping people, you know, and to me, that's where I try to bridge that gap of like, hey, what you're doing is commendable. I love it, but let's also take care of yourself and your family, you know, and let's do that by investing. And like I said, I say it all the time, and I couldn't stress this, you know, enough, is we always talk real estate because that's our forte. That's what we do, but invest in something. You know what I mean? Invest in, you know, stocks and bonds, you know, Roth IRA. Like there's a lot of things that you can invest in that are not real estate. So obviously I preach real estate because that's what I do and that's what I'm comfortable with. But if you like something else, run it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So to overview, in the fire department, then you're saying, and we're just making it specific because you're in the fire department, but keeping up with the Joneses and then not investing your money.
Yeah, not investing your money. And we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, is I think one of the things that helped me out the most was thinking of money as a concept. And not a lot of people know that, right? Is they look at money and it's like, okay, I have whatever, $20,000 in my bank account. That's $20,000 that's mine, that I'm keeping, that I'm safeguarding. You know, but what I learned early on is, hey, think of it as a concept, meaning that money could be created, it could be destroyed, right? It could be made out of thin air from certain deals that you do. You know what I mean? If you invest right, then that money is going to appear out of nowhere, if you will, because your gains, right, have been so big that you're now going to be able to pull that money from whatever you invested in.
Right.
So think of it as a concept. Like I said earlier, dude, we hit a certain amount in our bank account, and I want to get rid of it as soon as possible. Like I want to be down at zero, if you will, right? Or really close to, right? I don't want money sitting in my bank account, right? I don't care about having equity in my house that's not used.
Right.
I don't care about having $100,000 in my savings account. I want to get rid of it so that money works for me, and so it rides inflation as opposed to dwindling away against inflation.
That makes sense.
You know what I mean?
That makes sense. Is changing the framework of money.
Yeah, just thinking of how you think of money.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like I said, a lot of people think, you know, hey, they're at where they're at, you know, maybe it came easy, this and that. Bro, like, you know, no one shows there before, you know, and I'm here to tell people that it's possible. Like, if you knew me in high school, you would have never thought I'd be doing this, dude. If you saw where I grew up, you would have never thought I'd be doing this. Right. You know what I mean? It's whatever you've gone through, like, learn to use that as fuel to get where you want to be. Yeah. You know, I think a lot of people, it's easy to play that victim card. Hey, I was dealt a bad hand. You know, I came from here, I came from that. My family's involved in this. They're doing that. You know, we don't have money. Bro, when I got accepted into the fire academy, I ended up having, like, I didn't have money to go into the fire academy. Yeah. You know what I mean? So my mom actually ended up, like, impounding her ring. Wow. Because we had no money. Like, we came from nothing, dude. Yeah. You know what I mean? So what did I do when I had money? I bought her a house. Boom. You know what I mean? Wow, so learn to pay it back. Learn to, you know, look to see what you have and repay those who helped you. Yeah, that's huge, bro. I think you're really showing a lot of light in terms of, like, you could be financially free. Yeah. Freedom, as in terms of, like, have your time back by being a firefighter. Yeah. A firefighter could lead you to financial independence if done correctly. And I think you talked about it right now, changing the framework of money, and then obviously investing, and then obviously don't keep up with the Jones. Yeah. This is huge. Yeah. No, that's huge, man. Yeah. I think at the hospital, man, I mean, in the hospital, the common pains and struggles that I see very commonly when talking about finances and investing, I think the first one, number one, is also, I say, changing the framework of money. I think that could be a huge one as well. Is instead of buying the big, I think I see this commonly, is they go for the big house up front, right? Go buy the biggest house you can and go get the Mercedes right away, when that automatically just decreases the opportunities you have now to save and invest. Because if all your money is going into if all your money is going into a payment, then you got no money extra to really, like, save up or play with. You got no play money no more.
Now it's all going into that. So your asset becomes a liability.
Yeah.
So I would say one of the biggest things for us is, I think that's why financial literacy is one of the biggest things that we could talk about, because you can't just mistake any asset as an asset. Like, many assets become liabilities if not done correctly. And I see that commonly with nurses, is that we're just not taught, because a lot of us, most of us, at least including myself, like, this is our biggest job that we've ever had, and this is like, whoa, we're making this money now.
Yeah, I made it.
Yeah, I made it. Like, man, let's go celebrate, right? Let's, after work, let's go to after hour, let's go party. But that's if you once you get past that, that's what you're gonna keep doing, and then you see nurses, and nothing wrong with that either. But you see nurses that work bedside their entire life, and then you just can't wait for them to, like, get out. They're like, man, I can't wait to get out of work. Like, and I saw that so young, and I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that person where I'm, like, waiting, like, I'm 60 years old at bedside, like, breaking my back, waiting to be off. I'm like, nah, like, I don't want that life, you know? So I would say, to add to the common struggles of nurses, would be changing the framework of money, knowing the difference between an asset and a liability. And then the third one as well is, I guess you could say, keeping up with the Joneses. Is like, you don't have to buy the Mercedes. Like, you don't need new figs every single day of the week, new scrubs set. Like, like, save that money and then know how to invest it properly. And it be real estate, it be through an insurance product, stocks, anything it is, but grow your money, because keeping it at the bank is you're actually losing money because of inflation. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is, you know, I could see it in nursing, or, you know, I could see it at the fire department, is the amount that they used to make was, like I said, a lot relative to what it is now, you know? So when you have people, and it sneaks up on you, because people don't necessarily see the big picture right off the get-go, right? Meaning that some people will go out and they get a car and be like, oh, it's only $800, $900 a month. Like, I can afford that, you know? Like, when you split it up in between paychecks, you know, it's like fireman or nurse rationale. It's like, oh, it's only...
It's one shift.
You know,
it's
one shift. Exactly.
How many shifts is this?
Exactly. So then you get into, you know, buying something else, and before you know it, it just creates this, like, this trap, if you will, that's very hard to get out of.
Right.
So what I would suggest for someone that's newer, it's reverse engineer and talk to someone that's already done it. Right. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that, it's like, hey, I eventually want to be in this area. You know what I mean? I want to be in this house. This is what I'm envisioning.
That's awesome.
But how do I eventually get there? You know, because most people, you know, especially if they're on the younger side, like, you don't need a 4-bedroom house in Orange Hill. You know what I mean? You need something small. And it might not be flashy. It might not be super nice. You might not be, you know, bragging about it. But, dude, you're going to be bragging about it at a later point where it's making you money while you're sleeping. You know what I mean? So I think that's huge. It's just learning to play the long game and being like, hey, this is where I eventually want to be. Yeah. Now, how do I get there?
So, like, I feel like we highlighted a lot of, like, new coming firefighters, new coming nurses. Guys, that was a lot of valuable information for newers. Now, what about those that are already there? Let's say, like, now you're 30 to 45 years old. You're a firefighter and you're a nurse. You probably already have kids and you probably have your first home. You probably are like, okay, that's cool, but I'm here. I'm working 3-4 days a week, all day. I barely see my kids. I'm already, like, I already have the big payment of the house. I already have the car. Like, how do I kind of get out of that, or what do I do? Like, what would you tell your firefighter who's, like, knocking on your door telling you that?
Yeah, no, I would say if someone's older and they have that exact scenario, is learning to get access to bigger funds in order to be able to invest. So we talked about it briefly earlier, but something like a home equity line of credit. Okay. Right? Where that's going to assist them in buying their next property. If they do it right, then that property is going to pay for, right, not only the home equity line of credit and how much they actually put on it, but it's going to help in assisting in paying their primary residence. You know what I mean? So that way, hopefully they're able to pay off the house sooner and then not have to work as much overtime, because now you have that cash flow. Yeah. You know? And like I said, at the end of the day, you know, people look at it and be like, man, it's risky, you know, it's investing, all that stuff.
Yeah, right.
Sure, it is. You know what I mean? Any investing, you're taking a risk on, right? If you have your money in the stock market, I know people, you know, 6-7 years ago, whatever it was, that lost like 30% of their money. Right. You know what I mean? Because they had it in the stock market. Mm-hmm. You know, it's when you're investing, you're taking a calculated risk, right? And you're going through someone that has done it before, that's saying, hey, I'm going to put my stamp on this, and I'm saying that this is going to work, you know?
Right.
And I think that's something that we're big on, you know, and especially for ourselves and taking it back to taking care of the customer.
Yeah.
All the deals that I do personally, I put my stamp on and I say, hey, if for some reason this is not working out for you, I will buy this deal off of you.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And I genuinely have that guarantee because I know how confident I am in my numbers, you know? And half the time I'm like, hey, these people obviously have the capital, so it's awesome. They should be getting the cash flow. They should be getting the deal.
Yeah,
but half of the time I'm looking at these deals, I'm like, man, this is a good deal.
Yeah,
you know, and I love doing it. And
Yeah.
it's obviously, you know, it's for them. But I'm like, man, I would love this
I love
deal.
this
You
deal
know what I
too.
mean?
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's funny because I say that because I'm like, man, you know, like I said, if anything happens,
I'll get it off.
let me know.
Man.
I'll take it off your hands.
That's a good deal.
And like I said, I genuinely mean that. You know, to anyone that we've done a deal with, hey, if for some reason, whatever it is, it's not working out for you, you don't like being a landlord, you don't like doing this, doing that, I'll buy the deal off you.
Got it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's huge. You know, it's having someone in your corner that is that confident in their numbers.
So
you know?
so you're a firefighter, Jesus. Would you mind sharing where you're at in terms of your age, and then where you're at in terms of like what you've been able to accomplish, just to show inspiration and show people where you're at?
Yeah. So I'm 34 years old. I got hired at 22 with the fire department. So like I said, I've been there for a while now, you know, and then
12 years.
So yeah. So I'm going on 12 years. I have
Nice.
11. I hit 12 years in December. So December.
Salute, brother.
3rd.
Salute.
Yeah, it goes quick, man. It's crazy.
It does.
Yeah. So it goes quick. And then right now we're just in the process of building up our portfolio.
Okay.
Building up our real estate portfolio. We have some single family, we have multifamily, we have a triplex, we have a duplex. So so we have a little bit of everything, you know.
How many doors has you're 34? You're married as well. But how many doors do you guys have right now? And I just want to ask because I want to see what's possible.
Yeah.
You show what's possible for a firefighter.
Yeah. So we're at 7 doors right now.
Awesome.
7 doors,
Awesome.
and then I want to hit double digits this year. We will hit double digits.
You will hit double digits.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, you won multi.
Yeah. So we'll hit it for sure this year,
awesome.
you know. And I think ultimately, and I want a couple of things to come from this is
yes.
Obviously focus on getting properties, but a lot of people focus on like doors or, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
focus on properties, all that stuff. Dude, you only need 1 or 2 good deals or good properties in order to be in a good spot.
I've heard that too. You're like one deal away.
Dude,
Yeah.
you really
I
are,
heard that a
you
lot
know,
too.
and one of our properties, you know, and I'll be honest, I don't like to get too much into like numbers or too much into any of that.
Right.
I think that's just like the humility aspect, you know?
Yeah.
But dude, one of our units alone cash flows like $3,000 a month.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean?
That's that's 3 shifts.
Yeah,
At least for
exactly.
nurses, that's 3 shifts that one property does.
Yeah.
You don't gotta go to work.
Yeah, and that's you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and that's you look at that and you're like, dude, that's huge. Because same thing for us, you know, that's one day that you're spending there, or you know, depending on your schedule. But and that's one deal. Like I said, you don't need 10 doors.
Yeah.
None of that. You just need one to put you in a good position and be like, all right, we're happy with where we're at.
We're happy to do that.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's awesome because many people have asked me now. I think thank God it's social media, but a lot of people have been reaching out to me as like, dude, you're a nurse and you're doing this. And I'm very, very humble as well to be like, dude, like, I feel like it's, for me, I'm like, dude, it's so possible for you too, bro. Like, and then let me show you how. So the how-to, I mean, for me, myself right now, I'm 26 years old. I've been able to I'm at 5 doors right now, thankfully. And I only share that just to show you the same, just not to brag or nothing like that. It's only to show that it's very possible for a nurse to acquire and then, obviously be financially free for their family. In terms of the doors wise, I just acquired the duplex in January.
Yeah, congrats, man. That's
Thank
awesome.
you, bro. Appreciate it. That was like a huge learning
Yeah.
curve, But that alone has been able to help me a lot in terms of just spending less time from the hospital and actually learning other skills in terms of real estate wise.
Yeah. And then, so that's another thing. And it's funny because we keep on feeding off of each other, but you hit another good point is sometimes the thing that's going to help you out the most is going for it. You know what I mean? It's like you said, hey, I just kind of went for it. I'm learning as I'm going. Dude, that's huge, know, because if you don't take that shot, then it's never going to happen. It's automatically going to be a no.
Right.
Not only that, but then you learn along the way and it makes you that much better. So
Absolutely.
That's huge. It's like, hey, I don't have all the details, you know, I don't have exactly how this is going to go. It's not 100% planned out, but I'm just going to run it. I'm
Yeah.
just going to go for it and then see where this takes me.
Yeah, take action.
Know?
Take action is key. And that's what I tell people too is, you know, you got to take action though.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to tell you the blueprint, but if you don't take action, it's pointless.
Yeah.
You know, so I'll tell them like the first blueprint, like, very, you know, for a nurse, like that wants to get into real estate investing, the same way Jesus said is, you could use already your primary to get into that second one. And then the way you get into that second one, we talked about the funding through a HELOC, but we run the investment analysis. Like, let's run the deal, let's run the numbers. And then we cross-check it with other people as well that we have in our corner. And that's exactly what I did with my duplex. I said, hey, I took it to my mentor. He said, dude, this cash flows, like do it. And then it was just validation to my own analysis. And then, like you have fear, but if the numbers make sense, it makes sense, you know. And then take the action, and then you learn as you go. And I've always been told, fail forward. Yeah. Like, I think bringing it to the hospital, and then in life too, but in the hospital, we kind of get, I guess, a slap on the wrist for failing, right? If you mess up, it's like, dude, like, it's really bad to mess up. So no one wants to mess up.
Oh yeah, it's like school system.
It's like the school, it's a school system, but in life, it's not like that, because if you're scared to mess up, then you're never gonna take action. But it's actually those failures that have actually taught me so much. Like, even in this past year, the launching my Airbnb, like, has been a huge learning curve for me right now as we currently speak. Like, I'm like, dude, I made so many mistakes, but it's like, I'm only gonna get better. I'm only gonna get better from here. And then the same with the renovation of the property, and the analysis of it as well. Is like, dude, now I know I knew more now than last year on how to renovate a home. So that's why my goal now this year is to do my first flip, like, where I actually sell it. I don't keep it. I just sell it, and, you know, hopefully by summertime.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome, man. That's good to hear.
Yeah, appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I think, bro, I think the community aspect of nursing and firefighting, I think, is awesome. I think we deserve it more than anybody. Like, everyone does, but we deserve it because we know what we go through. Yeah. You know, and I know what nurses go through. So, you know, for nurses who are actually between 35 and 45 years old, who maybe have those payments and already kind of feel trapped, I would say if you could offset some of your assets / liabilities, if you could offset those payments, do it. Yeah. Like, if you just reduce your car, you know, you don't need the Benz, you don't need that. You know, like, go back, humble yourself. But if you have that long-term vision, you know why you're doing it. Yeah. And then, you know, get that second property. It'll buy back your freedom, and with that freedom, you can learn a new skill. Yeah. And then something else outside of the hospital that will pay you. Yeah. No, and like you said, you hit it right on the head in terms of, hey, it's gonna suck for a little bit. You know what I mean? It's gonna suck, and learning anything new is gonna suck for a little bit. Where you're gonna have those learning curves, and, you know, you're gonna have that time where it's like, man, like, is this even worth it? You know, am I doing the right thing? You know, but I think it's very important to get with like-minded individuals and people that are like, dude, 100% you're doing the right thing, you know, because it's very different, like, who you talk to. And it's funny, right? Because you hear all these things from when you were like a little kid, and you're like, oh, you are your 5 best friends, or the people, you're the 5 people you hang around with, you know what I mean? And you're like, dude, that's so dumb, you know? But it's funny, like, the older you get, you're like, man, it's so true, you know? Because just the other day I was talking to, her name's Jeannie. She owns, actually, I don't know how many units, but she has 201 doors. 201 doors? Yes, 201 doors. Wow. In between Whittier, and she has some properties in Utah, you know. Dang. And, dude, some of the stuff that, you know, people talk about is like, that sounds crazy. Like, to her, it was just like, oh, it's just another Tuesday. You know what I mean? That's, you know, just do this, and that, you know. And it's like, man, you know. And, you know, that's what I was talking about earlier, is you have someone that has like 201 doors. Just to hear that number is insane. Right. You know what I mean? You're like, dude, that's crazy. But then, you know, she talks to me about how she got started. You know, she was like a single mom, you know, didn't have any help, ended up like scraping by, dude. She would eat like peanut butter and jellies, or like stuff that was super cheap to make. Yeah. And scraped by, and was able to buy her first property. Boom. Ended up selling it. You know, she bought another property. Now she had equity. She was able to buy another property, and then just scaled. Yeah. You know, and I think a lot of the times, and what people don't realize is that first rental could change your entire life. Yeah. It's going to be a game changer, because now you have that snowball effect that you just talked about, you know, and it makes it that much easier, you know. Now you don't only have one property that you could pull money from. Now you have 2, now you have 3, you know what I mean? Like, you have access to
hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, depending on what you have.
Right.
You're like, okay, well now I could just repeat it. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's going to suck at first, you're going to have to save, live below your means, but it's going to be way worth it, in the long run.
So if you're the culmination, and I 100% agree. So if you're the culmination of the 5 people that you hang around with the most, then guys, I think it's super essential to get around a community, which we're building, which actually in July, estimated time, we'll have the exact date later, but we're going to be launching a real estate, what should we call it? Like a meetup group for first responders.
First responder meetup.
First responder meetup, where the point of that is if you're the 5 people that you are, then be surrounded by other like-minded individuals that want to learn and grow. Naturally, you're going to learn and grow yourself. So that is probably the goal. That is exactly the goal of why we're doing the meetup. Because I want to be around people that have more doors than me, are more, so I can learn from them. And then people who are learning and getting started, they can learn from us. And it's just a great environment that we should build.
And it makes it great because you have people that speak the same lingo, people that make around the same amount of money, people that are like-minded, and it only makes you better, And it's funny, and I'll hit on it again, is when you talk about your dreams, your hopes to someone that's not on the same level as you, it sounds crazy to them, it's like, dude, you want to do what? You're trying to do what? Like I said, you talk to other people that have already done it or who are further ahead of you. They're like, oh yeah. I'm like, dude, that's, just do this and that. They'll help you if anything, you know what I mean? As opposed to like just sounding crazy, and I think that's huge. And I think that once you experience that, you're like, dude, I want to be around more people like that because they understand what it takes in order to get there. And they understand me as just a person of like, hey, I'm hungry for more. Yeah. As opposed to just being, complacent or just being like in a certain stage where like, oh yeah, I'm good. And the thing is, like, things like this are meant for people that want more. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
don't come if you're complacent.
So it really is not for everyone, Exactly.
And the thing is, okay.
Like, that's okay. Exactly, 100%. Yeah. And I really am a big believer in that. It's like, dude, if you are happy, working for the fire department, working as a nurse, and you were happy, working overtime and, living your life as it is now, then, bro, we're good. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's all good, At the end of the day, it goes back to like, hey, that's your decision,
that's what you want.
I'm 100% good with that, Right. It's not for everyone, but it is for people that want more and they're like, hey, I want to do something and I want to have my money work for me.
Right. That is huge. Yeah, I was gonna add on to that, but I totally lost my train of thought. But that was well said. I think the whole goal of that is that community aspect of it. That like-minded individualness. Oh yeah, I was gonna add on. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Was I see it a lot commonly in the hospital is that you tell people your goals and dreams to someone who is just very complacent. Let's bring it into the hospital. There's a lot of nurses that you speak to and they just hate on your dreams because they haven't done it or they don't see it possible for themselves. So people tell you they can't do something because they couldn't do it themselves, but don't let that limitation be placed on yourself. Yeah. You just need to tell someone who's already doing it, and then they're gonna support you 100% of the way. Yeah. And that's exactly what you get at Home Dream. That's exactly what you get with me as well. Is like we're all just trying to grow. Yeah. And that's what you want to be around.
Yeah, and then taking it back to, same thing for myself, and I know we're close to wrapping up here, but, with the fire department, I mean, dude, the fire department has some funny guys, dude. You know what I mean? Like guys that's like, one guy will start, it'll go to the next guy, the next guy, the next guy. Yeah. Before you know it, you have like 5 or 6 people that are like, ragging on something, not necessarily this, but they're just like going back and forth, and they're funny, dude. Like I said, they have some of the best like humor. And I wouldn't trade it for the world, but I will say, it's seeing those people, and I'll say this to you, is keep on doing what you're doing. Keep on doing what you're doing because you never know who it's going to reach. That's true. What I mean? And like some of the deals that we just talked about are some people from the fire department who initially were like, I don't know, I don't know about that, smoke and mirrors, dude. And time passes, and they're like, dude, I see it. You know what I mean? I see it. I see it now, and they're the people that are, some of these people are the ones that are buying investments. So, so it could be life-changing, and I look at it on my point of view, like I said, I have thick skin. I work for the fire department. Nothing's going to faze me, Yeah. But I see it now, and I'm like, dude, I'm super proud of these people. They're doing something that's going to benefit, themselves and their families. So I love it, man.
Yeah, I think it's the best sense of fulfillment to see your own people, that you see your firefighters nurses. It's the biggest fulfillment for me to see them succeed.
Yeah.
My first, when I started House Wild Pros, a community for nurses, Lydia, shout out to Lydia. She was 40-ish, 45 plus years old, but never owned a home. And she has a beautiful family, and we actually ended up finding a great deal in Downey. And I remember seeing it, and I was like, Lydia, like, I ran the comparables on this, like, dude, you walking into equity already. The way they priced it, they priced a little bit low because they needed some renovation. But I said, I have a team that I've used that would do floors, paint, super fast and really nice. Like, don't be scared of the carpet. We could rip that out tomorrow and it'll be good. And she trusted me. We ran the analysis. She bought last year in February 2023. Today for $750 or $720. Right now the ARV on that is $1 million.
Wow.
And Downey. And I was like, she sent me a screenshot and I was like, let's go. Like, I was so excited for her because she wouldn't have taken action. She wouldn't have that right now.
Yeah.
And now she's already like looking into her second home.
That's awesome.
But that's all possible because she took action.
Yeah. And
we ran the analysis, and it goes into like, I share that as a story that could be you. Yeah. That could be you as well. And why not you? Yeah. Why not you, man? So.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, as we start to wrap up, what's one last thing you would say to people that are watching or other nurses that are watching? Yeah. And then let them know where they could find you.
Yeah. I mean, one last thing I could just say is take action, get around a good network of people like Jesus, like Home Dream, like myself. Don't be hesitant to reach out because that's the only way you're going to find out. Yeah. And then once you get around those people is just take action and be proactive. And then especially as a nurse, you work 3-4 days a week. Don't let those other days just go to waste. Like, use them as much as you can with learning something new, like taking action, learning. So be very proactive and don't give up on your dreams. Yeah. And then they could always find me on Instagram handle, Armando Olmeda. Make sure to join the forum, Health Wealth Pros. It's a large community that we're just expanding that massively for nurses that just want to learn about real estate, investing, financing. Just a good forum of good people that want to grow.
Awesome, man.
Yeah. What about for yourself, bro?
Yeah, I would say just humble yourself and learn. Yeah. Be ready to learn, be ready to pick people's brains. Like I said, specifically someone that's already done it, someone that's, where you eventually want to be. Yeah. Like I said, we could talk all day, so we gotta end it here. But for myself, you can find me at Home Dream on Instagram. And like Armando said, is if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out. Feel free to reach out, shoot a DM, send us a message. Yeah. And we're super accessible, meaning that, we'll spend time with you. We'll jump on a call. Like I said, at the end of the day, I think your goal is the same as mine, is we want to see other first responders succeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that being said, we'll see you guys.
See you guys.
Have a good day. Have a good shift.
Have a good shift. I know.